Now, remember, what is also special about the landscape talks session is that you can ask a question. So I hope you're formulating and writing down these questions, because we'll have a session where our speakers will be able to address them. Now, moving on, our next speaker, Dr. Paola Agostini, is a lead environmental economist at the World Bank's Environmental and Natural Resources Global Practice. And Dr. Agostini will be sharing with us a financial roadmap to turn wastelands into vital land. Thank you and welcome very much. Please, before she starts, let's give her a round of applause. Yeah, we are excited to hear what you will be sharing.
Thank you very much to the people online and the people that are present. All right, so when you look at this picture, this photo, what do you see? You see a very degraded land on the left, and then you see a restored land on the right. In the reality, and maybe many of you know this situation, this is the border, this is a road between two countries. On the left side you have Haiti, on the right side you have the Dominican Republic. So the key messages that I want to give to you is that landscape restoration is doable. The landscape restoration is very important for both poverty and shared prosperity. And landscape restoration can help you to achieve your goals in whatever sector you're working. Why? Well, you already heard a few times today our senior director talking about the wealth of a nation. The wealth of a nation is different from GDP as a measure of economic vibrancy of a country. GDP only focuses on the production. The wealth of a nation is the sum of the human capital, natural capital, and productive capital. So for the wealth of the nation, the natural capital is important. And this is a report that just came out last year. Landscape restoration is doable. We have already done it. It's not impossible. And here are a couple of examples. Many of you might know this place. This is the China Los Plateau. This is how degraded it was. It was a moonscape. And just with the intervention of the government of China and the World Bank for about 10 years, it completely reversed the situation, and it's now a productive and healthy land. People were leaving the Los Plateau. The Los Plateau is of the size of Kenya. We have done it at scale. We are not talking about a small landscape. Here is an example of another country, Rwanda. Rwanda has restored almost half of the land. And the results are impressive in terms of economic returns. If you look at the productivity of their land, production of maize increased 30%, Irish potato more than 200%, income raised 5 times, etc. If you look at Costa Rica, again, many of you might know this slide. This is what is called the striptease of Costa Rica. Costa Rica had an incredible forest cover in the 40s and in the 50s. But little by little, it went down and down, down. And then by the year 87, it was reduced to 21%. They took a very bold decision in terms of policy to reverse that. And they eliminated capital subsidies, which was the major driver of deforestation, instituted the payment of environmental services, instituted a tax on gasoline, which was financing this payment for environmental services, and little by little we were able to to increase their forest cover again. But as we were saying, landscape restoration can help you to achieve your goals. If you look at different sectors, landscape restoration is important for energy. Keeping your watershed well forested decreases the sedimentation cost that you have in running a dam. Can help in the mining sector because you need to restore your land sites after the mining. We have discussing this morning many times household energy and the production of biomass or bioenergy. And if you have to control flooding in urban areas, all the intervention on mangroves and restoring the mangroves or restoring can really help in diminishing the risk related to disaster risk management. These are just some of the examples of why it's important for you. How? The World Bank is doing it through our Forest Action Plan. We are working on the classic pillar of sustainable forest management, and then in the innovative pillar of forest smart intervention, which means working in all the other sectors that can influence and can have benefits also from adding trees to the landscape. And this is all using the landscape approach. So it can be agriculture, it can be energy. But there is, if we want to focus on economics, it's also already shown that $1 in landscape restoration can bring between $7 to $30 in benefits. So we can do it. But sometimes the cost of the landscape restoration activities are at the beginning higher. So the traditional way of doing things is, for the first few years, has higher profit than the new way of doing it. So who is going to pay for this initial few years when the cost of restorations are higher than on the conventional way of doing things? Some studies, this is a picture that comes from WRI, shows that there is a huge gap in financing, about $300 billion of gap in financing every year. So where can we find this money? And here are some ideas. You can have, if your barriers to landscape restoration is the lack of funding for small farmers to pay for the initial cost, you can do payment of environmental services. You can have a carbon tax. We are going into Poland, into the COP. Or subsidies for restoration, like you have subsidies for solar energy. Or you can do climate financing for restoration. And why not working really with the private sector with impact investor, or thinking about restoration bonds, or thinking about guarantees if your problems are related to the fact that landscape restoration is too risky. These are all some approaches that help us in finding new money for landscape restoration. We need to work in partnership, and we need to think about a new partnership for the regions that are not in there, for Central Asia, for example, for South Asia. We already spoke about the Cocoa Forest Initiative, which is one of the best examples of private sector, public-private sector intervention. So just to finish, landscape restoration is doable. It really helps poverty and shared prosperity, and it can help you to achieve your goals. So I hope that now, when you look at this picture, you don't see anymore the differences between the border between two countries, but you see the past and the future in the same country. Thank you.